Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Dirty and Driven podcast. My name is James DeVinny. I am your host on this fine Friday episode. Man, do we have an awesome guest for you today. Before I get to that, I just want to say this is the Dirty and Driven podcast, where we gain, train, and retain solid, hardworking people in the blue-collar world. Today, we're talking about gaining and training. We're talking about training and gaining kids, high school kids. That's right. We have a guy on named Ian Freeman. He is the welding instructor here at the Pioneer Tech in Ponca City, also known as the Votech. It's our local Votech, and he does a phenomenal job. He's got a phenomenal program going, very successful. A lot of kids go through it. A lot of kids learn from it, and a lot of kids get really good jobs from it. So he's out here doing exactly what we're talking about every single day. He's bringing kids in, he's training them up, and he's making them good employees and good welders, and maybe they want to start their own business. He is being a mentor to these kids, and he's taking a lot of kids that maybe don't have a direction or a place, and he's giving them a direction, a place through welding. And it's absolutely incredible. Just some of the things he says, and we have a lot of fun with it. So just listen and have fun with us. If you're watching on YouTube, I just want to say we had some technical difficulties with our camera setup. They were working great for most of the time, and then they decided to start acting a fool. So I apologize for that in advance. And if you're listening, you're going to hear us shit-talking our camera setup because they were acting a fool. Guys, be sure to follow us at Dirty and Driven if you don't already. If you're new to the show, please share the show. Write a 5-star review. Written reviews are awesome on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Same with YouTube. If you just give us a thumbs up on there, subscribe to our page. All that helps grow the show and push it out there. And if you want to leave a tip in the tip jar, we'd appreciate that a lot. You can leave as little as $1 or as much as you want in the tip jar, and we appreciate all of those things. It helps us grow and it helps us production grow. Lastly, if you want a free sticker, just DM us, reach out to us on our website, email us, dirtyanddriven@gmail.com for a free sticker. And if you want to work with us to help you implement a gain, train, and retain pipeline in your business, then reach out to us on our website or via email. All right, guys, I'm excited to bring this show to you. It's really awesome. Enjoy listening to Ian and follow him on Instagram at IF_welding. Here's the show. Yeah, Casey, I'm gonna rely on you some to help carry me because I got up at like 3 this morning.
I'm making excuses
so
already. You hear that
I'm gonna
shit?
need the if I start losing my train of thought and talking like old Biden, I'm gonna need your help.
I got up about 3:30.
Is that what time you always get up?
3:30, 3:45, because I usually leave for work about 4:20, 4:30.
What time do you go to bed?
I go to bed early. I go to bed 8 or 9 at the latest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all right. You go to bed a little earlier than I do. I try to go to bed by 9, but it's usually like 9:30.
But I'm an old man, man. Old
Yeah.
man. Go to bed early, get up early.
Not 9:30 is about my limit anymore. But
And nothing good happens after that.
nothing good happens after 9:30.
Yeah.
I don't care to be up past that anymore. No, I was of course, I'd love to say that I was doing like work or something, but no, I got up early to go crane hunting, like the bird, not construction equipment.
Bird?
Yeah, Sand Hill.
Where does that happen?
It was in Waukeeta, west of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's your old stomping grounds.
that's the famous Twister
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
movie.
Is that?
Location.
Oh, it was filmed in Waukeeta.
That was, whenever the tornado came through and Aunt Meg's house and all that shit that got tore
right.
up.
And now, don't they have a museum over there?
Yep, they still got that little
That's
museum
right.
over there.
Yeah.
I talked about it before on our podcast, but you know all the cans that made Dorothy fly in the movie? I cut every single one of those for the movie.
That sucks.
This is the guy.
That's a lot of
You're
work.
talking to the
Little
guy.
windmills, dude. We cut over 1,000 Pepsi cans for them to put in those little sensors to make Dorothy the balls fly. The sensors.
Damn. Yeah, that's a lot.
Claim to fame.
So I was sitting here talking before the show about how I need a tech guy because I'm so bad about switching the cameras. Yeah, I've already forgot every single time. So
That's all right.
Well, whenever you're ready to start.
I already hit record, man.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So you got to hear me bragging about my can cutting experience again.
No can cutting.
Apparently, you're not the only one around here that's helped with that movie. There was a couple of tables that Mitch Garrity built. I don't know if
yeah?
you know Mitch, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
built some tables that were in the when they at the drive-in and
Yeah.
go down under there. He said, "Yeah, I built those tables." He actually showed them to me. He still had them. Would not sell them. That was whenever he was shutting down, selling off everything. I was like, "Hell yeah, I'd love to have those." And he's, "Nope, just going to the house."
So those tables survived the tornado then, the twister, huh?
Yeah.
Some good tables.
Must be some stout tables.
Yeah. Probably metal tables.
Oh yeah.
Ain't made out of balsa wood, huh?
No.
Yeah. Well, Ian, you are our first official in-person guest in the studio, I should say. I had one where I traveled. We've had guests in person before the studio, but this is you're our first in-person guest with me and Casey in the studio, other than my wife. So welcome, man.
Thank you. That's it's pretty good company, right?
Yeah.
One of the host wives and then me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that.
No,
oughta
man.
work.
You know, we've been so self-conscious about the studio. You know, we haven't really got it set up the way we want yet, but we're working on it. We've got one picture hung, so kind of like my house I've lived in for 3 years. You know, I've got one picture on the wall and hung a couple things up. So we're getting there, but yeah, man, it's a cool deal.
Say shit, it's not bad though, because I've seen some people doing podcasts these days where it looks like they're just sitting in the living room and there's a bong on the table and stuff. So this is pretty good.
Yeah, I think the landlord might have issue if we started lighting up a bong in here.
Yeah, so would my place of employment too.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd be, once this episode came out, I'd be getting piss tests the next day.
Yeah, me too. You know, that's how it goes, man. Always under the thumb.
How are your fingers working on that switching 3 cameras?
Man, they're working so far. I missed the first minute and a half, but we're good now.
You're going to be getting the old Xbox thumbs or carpal tunnel from switching it from 1 to 3 to camera 2 and back.
Finger fucking.
He's going to end up like those folks that run the 10 keys. You see him running inventory and stuff.
Yeah. I'm a finger tapper, like when I type on a typewriter. Just the index finger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's switching. It's not the hard part. It's remembering to switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, Ian, you're a little different guest than we've had on before. You know, typically we have contractors or somebody like that, which I guess to an extent you are a contractor too. But you're also a teacher, which is cool. Welding instructor at our VOTEC here in town, Pioneer Tech. We met. I thought this was kind of cool. We'll give a shout out to the old crew collab.
Yeah.
We were both on a Zoom call for this to do a classroom talk, which Crew Collab does, and just talk to high school kids and say, hey, this is what I do in the blue collar industry. This is why I do it. This is how much money I make. This is why I like to do it. You know, you basically give a 5-minute presentation about your job and why you do it. And I hop on and I see this dude wearing a Pioneer Tech hat. And I'm looking in the background and I was like, man, there can't be a lot of Pioneer Techs out there. And I just look at it, I was like, God, that building looks like it. And I was like, man, where are you at right now? And you're like, oh, little old town in northern Oklahoma. And I said, where the fuck are you at right now? And you were like, oh, Ponca City. And I was like, hell yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it turned out you're just down the road.
Yeah. It worked out just nice.
That was definitely unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, we're on a video call of, people from all over the country, California,
like
Boston,
Massachusetts,
everywhere. And, you and I meet up both from a little old Ponca City.
A couple of rednecks in Oklahoma just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So what's the draw of that crew collab or whatever? Why are people attending that or signing up for it?
It's just workforce development. I mean, they have a similar mission to us. I originally joined because I first started seeing what they call their ambassador program right whenever I started Dirty and Driven. And I was like, well, I better, this looks like a good networking deal. And they align, same vision, bring people to the industry. They're a nonprofit. They're out there just trying to spread the word and attract people to the industry. They do these classroom talks, which is what we run, like I said, and speak to kids, and they do a lot of other stuff, but it's just drawing workers to the industry. Same thing we're trying to do.
What about with you, Ian? How did you get into the crew collab thing?
It's pretty much the same thing. I am a board member of an organization called the Hooded Heroes. It's a similar deal. We kind of help out with people that need their personal protective equipment for welding school. So they have to apply and show that they're in need. And then if we think that they need it, then we'll help them out, send them a welding hood and gloves and glasses and all that stuff. And I kind of went, welding's not the only thing I care about. I think trades are just important all around. And, when kids come through and tour the school, that's one of the things I always tell them. I said, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't pick welding, but something out here will help you in the future.
Yeah.
So it's not just my one trade that I know and love. It's just, blue collar work it's what keeps us all going.
Yeah.
How many different options are there at a Pioneer Tech for fields wise? And not so much blue collar, but just in general.
Oh man.
Probably 100, you think? Or
not quite 30 some odd is the big number,
right.
Like the overall, because there's different career paths and different programs. Like one's called mechatronics, but there's 6, 7, 8 different things that you can get into from there. As far as like wind energy and that one, you can get college credit to go and get your process tech degree. And then in mine's either a combination welder or we're working towards making a few different career paths. So if your whole deal is not, I'm going to go on the road and weld pipe for the rest of my life, we're trying to make sure that there's options for that. And so basically every program has, like I say, different career pathways. So there's almost something for everybody kind of thing, and then we've got the health careers out there. We just added a new one that's called Practical Nursing Select. So high school seniors can get started towards their career in nursing, which is awesome because that didn't used to be the case. And it's one of those deals that out there, if there's a need, we're going to try to make sure that it's filled. So it's more almost every day. It feels like. Hell, we got this new room called the Flex Lab, which is cool as hell. You should come check it out. We got
it's just a room full of mirrors and a bunch of meatheads out there. Yeah.
If only. No, it's basically we do training for industry instead of the high school kids. Mm-hmm. So if you're working somewhere and they want to give you some specialized training, that might be the room you do it in. Right now, it's got 2 laser welders and a robotic arm welder. So, I guess that shows my bias a little bit. I think it's cool as shit because there's a couple of laser welders in there. But, we're going to get an overhead hoist and stuff like that to do rigging training. And there's a lot. There's a lot we can do in that room. They're going to do HVAC and various other things. So,
I just love that kids have that option to learn a trade. And if you do it in high school, it's free.
Right.
I mean, and you spend half a day there for 2 years of your high school, 1 or 2 years, and you get certifications. You're learning how to do the stuff, and it's just invaluable what you can do out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like to try to show them all different facets of the industry because people think, like I was just saying, not everybody's wanting to be a pipe welder for the rest of their life or an iron worker, whatever the case may be. So I try to show them that we take them to Oklahoma City, show them aerospace. We've what is this new shop, Trailer Butler? It's a new company here in town. Guy came from Vegas. We were just in his shop a couple days ago, so I could show him. Look, this guy started with a fucking machine from Harbor Freight. And now he's got his own company. He's got a shop here in town, and dude's killing it. And he's needing to hire people. So I was like, check it out. This guy had an idea, never welded before, but the trades took him from stuff he was doing, not enjoying, to now he's got his own company. He's his own boss. He's doing awesome.
I've wanted to hit that dude up and have him on the show, actually. Or
You
talk
should.
to him about maybe a partnership or something, because his product's so relevant to what people in our industry use. I mean, it's a little deal to move your trailer around without having to hook it up to a truck. It's pretty cool. But yeah, whenever he opened up, I was like, man, I need to get connected with that guy.
Well, I can do that for you.
Oh, wow.
Troy's a good dude. He really is.
So what got you into the blue collar trades or welding in general?
That's kind of funny. I'm like, I don't want to say I'm the black sheep of the family, but like my family's mainly
Because you're native, right?
That's part of it. Well, you know, I got the brother, but he's just like me, blue collar bum. But the rest of the family is like lawyers and stuff, and not that there's anything wrong with that. But
hey, man, I'm in the blue collar world too. We're sitting in a law firm right now.
I know. There's not a thing wrong with that, but
Right.
I got into it because when I was a kid, my grandfather welded in the refinery for a good long time. He was a plumbers and pipe fitters union guy, and I was the only grandkid that took to it. I think he tried to talk everybody into trying it at least, and I was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. I'm melting metal with electricity. Like that sounds cool as shit just in its base form, you know? So he got me started. I don't know. I was 12 or 13 probably. And I mean, I just loved it. I loved building stuff. I kind of always wonder if I have a little bit of ADD because I'm like, I can't do the same thing over and over and over. And welding definitely offers the opportunity to not do that. You know, you do the same stuff over and over, you get bored. Well, with the trades, a lot of times it's something different every day. You may have technically the same job, but it's going to be in a different place with different terrain and things like that. I'm thinking of the building roads and whatnot. It's going to have its own set of challenges, and that's what's fun, you know, creative problem solving. And I just, when I got into it for real, it was shortly after high school. I didn't even take that class when I was at Pioneer Tech. I took the mechatronics class. So I thought I was going to be an engineer. That did not work out. Engineering's hard, man. Are you an engineer?
No, we looking at me.
I have an engineering degree, yes.
Yeah, well, that shit's hard. Good for you, man.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. I got into O State and started that, lasted 1 year and went, I can't do it. So then I started welding, finished up a different degree, one in broadcast journalism, like I said earlier. So that took me nowhere, and I was welding the whole time when I was living in Texas. So I decided to just come back here and keep doing it. I've welded for like everybody around here, it feels like. And again, it's just different, you know, different every day.
So you're originally from here and you moved to Texas.
Yeah.
When was that, or what took you to Texas?
School. UNT is one of the best public broadcasting schools in the country, and for whatever reason they let me in, so I went down there and tried it out. And then I actually was told I had a job in radio if I were to move back. Like, it was one of the local stations said somebody was retiring. I said, you come on back. Well, we got a job for you. And I went, hell yeah, this is what I went to school for. Let's do it. And then I canceled my lease. You know, I terminated my lease in my apartment and all this stuff. And then I get a call that they decided not to retire. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I just changed everything. I decided to move back. Like, I got a place to live, all this stuff. And I came back, and thankfully I had a trade to fall back on. So I came back and kept welding.
Well, we're making your radio DJ dreams come true right here, right now. You've got
God.
an official microphone and
That's right.
and a platform to talk, and you don't have to be censored by the what is it?
It's not the SEC.
What is it? Broadcast journalism guy? What's
Dude,
the
I don't even remember. I didn't do anything with the degree, man.
No wonder you didn't. I'll bet you graduated though. I don't.
Yeah. Well, there's no federal regulations on this, at least not as of now. But
I'll think of that here in a sec.
yeah, but no. Why'd you want to go radio at first? Just seem cool.
No. My original goal was to be a voice actor, because hopefully my mom never listens to this. Bit of a latchkey kid, so I always say TV raised me, and I watched a lot of cartoons, and I was like, man, I want to be a cartoon. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cartoon, and there's only 2 ways to do that, and I can't draw. So I was like, well, I can talk. So I wanted to be a cartoon. Then I started listening to radio a lot more. Got into radio when I was down there, going to UNT because they have 100,000 watt stations. So that's like the number 1 or 2 jazz station in the country, which I don't listen to jazz, but I was like, hell yeah, it's still a cool station. So that was kind of how that went. Completely unintentional.
I can't imagine you in there just welder dude. Just welcome back to JAZZ, your freeform jazz station. Little ASMR voice.
Yeah. Well, dude, the worst part about it was I came on my first stint with the station. I did Saturday late mornings. And the early mornings, it was a Spanish radio. So every
Spanish
time,
radio and jazz radio, like split?
Yeah. So every day I was on air without fail. I'd get calls for the first 20 minutes. These people speaking Spanish at me, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's nothing I can do for you. That part's done.
Yep, no comprende.
Dude, what a unique station. Like,
oh, yeah.
We're going to have Spanish radio and we're going to have jazz radio, but they're going to be the same station.
Same day, just like back to back. It's pretty wild. My favorite story about that, actually. So this is right before my first broadcast, and it was live broadcast. So, you really got to mind your P's and Q's. There's only a 10-second delay, I think it is. So... No, it was like a 3-second delay. Regardless, I'm going over everything with the station manager. We're talking. I'm doing the sign off, all this stuff. Well, what do most radio stations call letters? What do they start with?
The hot?
No, the 4 letters. K.
Yeah.
And I went to school at UNT.
KUNT?
The call letters are KNTU for that very reason.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there talking to this gal, and I'm like going over everything, and I just 88.1 KUNT, and she's like, "Do not say that on air." And it didn't even register. I'm like, "What do you mean? That's what are you talking about?"
Dead.
She's like, "You can't say that on air." And
I just did.
I did.
Dude, there was I don't know if it's still around or not. I'm sure they changed the name, but have you ever heard of Friends University of Central Kansas?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's still around.
Yeah. My brother's got a degree from
the
there.
acronym of that, FUCK. That was always the big running joke, too.
Oh.
Well, fuck it, man. I mean, if it works.
Friends University.
I'm sure they changed it.
It's just Friends University now.
Yeah.
Did they print that on shirts?
Dude, I don't know, but that was back even when I was going to college.
I would love to, like, we're friends fuck? I don't know.
The tagline.
But you were talking about the 90s earlier. I remember everybody having the University of South Carolina hats. Everybody walking around with a hat, Cox.
Oh, yeah. The old Gamecocks.
You still see some of those every now and then in college. It's usually some kid with like a really bad pedo mustache, and he's got a hat on that says Cox or something.
Is it bad pedo mustache or a good pedo mustache? You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is this kid is in a fraternity, and he's probably a pedo.
Yeah.
He's going to the high school party still.
Yeah. He's the old, you know what I love about them high school girls?
I keep getting older, and they stay the same age.
That's a...
So welding, man, there's something manly about welding, because I do just a little bit of welding just with a little 110 Cracker Jack box, little MIG welder. I'd love to scale up, but I don't have the tools and stuff. But when you're fabbing up anything with steel, because I have a framing background, built a lot of homes, framed a lot of homes, done a lot of remodels, done all that. Now, all that I've done is out of wood, but then use the same concept, but then knowing that you can do it with steel and frame, just from a nothing to a something, dude. There's just something manly, seriously, about just steel, cutting steel, burning steel, and hopefully you don't have, the pitter patter, spickle spackles. Whenever you want that good frying bacon sound.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. I think that honestly is the appeal for some of the kids that come through my class, is they just they're like, man, it's cool. Like, it makes you feel
just raw,
man.
just
And I mean, I don't know how many pictures I've got. It's still a thrill to me. First time I lit up an oxy-fuel torch was over 20 years ago, but still when I do it, I'm just like, fuck yeah, that's cool as shit, man. Like you just, huge flame and then you're cutting metal with fire. Like that's crazy.
Do kids like cutting, do they have more of an appeal cutting with a torch or a plasma cutter, do you think?
They like the torch.
Yeah.
Plasma cutters, it's faster and cleaner and all that stuff, but it doesn't have the same cool factor.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've told them like that, that plasma is upwards of 30,000 degrees. That's pretty cool too. Like, I mean, that's crazy.
That's insane that it can produce that much.
Yeah.
There's just something awesome about having fire in your hand, just cutting metal. I haven't done a lot of welding, but I've done a lot of cutting, and that's just so much fun. You can't beat it.
I agree.
Have you done any pipeline welding?
No, personally, I have not, and that goes back to my my thought process that I might have a bit of that ADD. So
Your uncle? Who was the one that was working in the refinery? That was
my grandfather. He's
grandfather.
Plumbers and pipe fitters.
Yeah.
No, the thought of making the same weld over and over kind of drives me crazy. Like I say, I can't do the same thing all the time. So as much as I love welding, and I do love welding, I like the layout and fit up and thinking about stuff, not just all right, go in there with your fancy truck and tack things and weld them out. Well, I say that I got a rig downstairs anyway, but I would do it, and I've got a lot of friends that do, and I'm sure I would enjoy it, but it's never been the side of it that's really appealed to me.
Well, and the reason why I ask is, I know there's probably like with anything, there's probably a lot of like monotonous welds. Like,
oh yeah,
if you were doing a 20-foot section every 20 feet for miles on end, just down in a ditch, 20, 20, 20, 20, just doing the same top and over. But I was going somewhere with this, and the kicker is where I'm at, we have piping that goes up, down, around, bends, turns, lefts, rights, up and down, and we've literally had welders come in and not use any type of equipment to shoot the lay of the land, but just tape measures, look, this or that, jot it down, go fab it up to where it might come out 22.5 degrees here, turn kind of not even a perfect 45 down, just weird here, swoop here, up here, elbow over here and back, and they'll fit that motherfucker in, and dude, it'll fit perfect, and they'll weld it. It's crazy to, it's one thing, yeah, you might have to use a come along or maybe pull the pipe a little bit, but to see the artistic ability and the thought process, to see these guys that are able to pipes that don't line up perfect, but they're many feet apart from each other, that have different elbows or different turns, and to be able to go in and pretty much just fab it up to the T, whether it's in the field or back at the shop, and come in. They might have fabbed it 2 months ago, but by the time it gets installed, when the group comes to install it, it just fits up perfect. It fascinates me. Like I said, it's not a straight just putting a pipe here. It's a bunch of crazy shit. The shit's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy. That kind of stuff is what's cool to me. I remember the first time I had one of the students say something about I'm just a dumb welder. I went, no. And you get out that little pipe fitter's handbook, and you go in there and see all the trig and geometry and all this stuff that's used, these formulas that people haven't thought of in once they leave school because they don't need it anymore. Welders need it. I mean, I'm sure it's not just welders, pipe fitters, everybody in that line of work, they need that stuff. They don't realize maybe how intelligent they are and how advanced some of the math they have to do is. But man, it really is impressive, and then like you said, the guys that have done it for however long, and they can just go in there and they go, well, that should be about this and this, and they go and they just make it happen. Yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's awesome.
I think that's what's so cool about welding too, is like it's not the same, and there's so many different disciplines in welding. It's almost like there's so many different jobs that you're using the same tool as this guy over here, but you're not doing anything even close to the same job.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you have guys that work on a assembly line that all they do is that same weld all the time over and over. We've had a guy on the show before that's he said that one of his first big jobs was he made, I don't even remember what he said he made, but it was like the same thing every day. He just boom, and it was like, yeah, I do that all the time. It was just basically my challenge every day was how many of these could I get out every single day, and trying to get better, which I could see where doing the same thing every day makes you really good at that thing. But also, I mean, as a welder, you can be really, I mean, like what you're talking about, Casey, like you've got to be an engineer to do that. You're figuring out how to fit that and fabricate that to where when you bring that pipe out, boom, it's in there, right? And as a welder, you can do assembly line work, you can do pipe work, you can build bridges, you can do the steel for buildings, you can do so much. I mean, you can build fire pits and all sorts of weird structures. Like it's just such a diverse job that, yeah, again, you're using the same tool, but there's a million ways you can go with it, and you can be quote unquote a dumb welder and not have a lot of skill at the job, just kind of know how to do the baseline stuff and work a pretty low paying job on, something easy.
Right.
Or you can be somebody who's got to literally design and build a pretty crazy structure.
Right. And I try to, I think I've already said that, but I try to explain this stuff to these young people because that's the biggest part for me is making sure that they at least have an idea when they're going to leave of what they might run into, right? I mean, it's impossible to get all of the knowledge into them that I'd like to in those 2 years they're out there because they're only there for 3 hours, right? And they're also 16 to 18 years old, so they're not going to remember everything, not by a long shot. But the point is, I've tried to tell them about, getting a hand-drawn piece of paper, and we need you to make this. There's no dimensions. Well, it's roughly this size. All right. I mean, I'll do it. And that was my job for the day. And it was no big deal. I mean, I got it done and everything, but that kind of stuff is far from uncommon. Like you will have to think on your feet for sure. And again, that goes back to one of the reasons I love it so much is, the other thing is I always tell them welding is one of the few jobs, that you have to be on all the time. Like you can't really have those off days. I used to weld these pieces of pipe or this piping system that got pressure tested to 22,500 psi. I don't know about y'all, but that's
A lot of pressure.
That was a lot of psi.
The room that we tested it in was it's like 8 inches thick. It was concrete and then concrete steel. And I told him, you've got to be on with that stuff. If you're not, and that weld fails, somebody could die. I mean, there's no two ways about that one. Somebody could die. It's that's a lot of pressure. And we had a plug that failed once when we were pressure testing, and it sounded like a bomb went off, even inside that big enclosure. They had cameras in there to make sure everything was going the way it was supposed to. Destroyed the cameras. It was quite the ordeal. But that's another exciting thing about it to me. You got to be on. You have to be at your best every day, or things could really go south for a lot of people.
Wait, say that again. You videoed blowing up one of those pipes?
Yeah.
Like on purpose?
No. Oh well, yeah. I mean, it was on purpose. They've got cameras inside the
It's
the
a
testing.
controlled
Yeah.
test area, probably.
Do you have that video?
I don't. I could probably get it though.
I was gonna say if you can get that video, I would love to see that video.
Yeah. I could probably get it. Yeah, I still know a lot of people that work at that place. But
Yeah, that'd be cool to see.
And the thing with welding too, just from what I've seen, me being my TikTok surfer, is there's so many different types of welding applications. You got your MIG, your TIG, your righty-tighty, your lefty-loosey. You got so much shit for different applications. It's not like you just use a little, stick welder or something and just burn anything. There's so many different applications for different types of metal, different types of situations and scenarios, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Y'all ever heard of electron beam welding?
No, that sounds really cool.
It does sound really cool, and it is.
Is that a churched up name for something simple?
No, it's not. It's actually
Electron beam
welding, where it uses stuff that I don't know much about. But long story short, it is used in a vacuum, and it has such depth of penetration. You can send a pinhole weld through 2-inch plate like it's nothing, and there's nothing else that can do that. And the reason is, if I'm understanding correctly, that they use it is just, highly critical applications where these two plates have got to be welded with zero defect whatsoever. Well, that's where it's got to be in a vacuum, so there's not going to be any atmosphere that can mess with it. And then it's a one-shot deal instead of having all this prep with the material and things. It's straight through.
Yeah, I can see stuff like, with the SpaceX rockets and shit like that for them super duper controlled environment,
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and if you do it under pressure, or under a vacuum or something like that, I mean, that's pretty, for something like space where you're going up in a vacuum. I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
You probably want to replicate that environment.
You go up to space in a vacuum? I thought they had shuttles and shit.
It's like that one vacuum. You ever seen those ones you ride on?
They had a vacuum in Spaceballs. Did you ever see Spaceballs?
There you go. That's the one.
You saw it, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Remember they went and sucked out all the air from that one Earth?
I just love, your Schwartz is bigger than mine.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
I just love the part of that movie when they're like, he's like, you must comb the deserts. And then they have those big ass combs out there.
Yeah, the one brother, he's got the pick.
Yeah,
pick.
he's like,
y'all found anything? Because we ain't found shit.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's been a while since
The radar, what is it? It's been jammed. It appears to be strawberry.
I need to rewatch that movie. It's been a long time.
Classic.
Oh, man.
Hey, back to your being 100% good on your the welds and everything. I do know just from what I see out, because I work out in the refinery. I work for the pipeline out there.
Yep.
I'm a pipeline operator, and whenever we're fabbing up stuff, or not but the pipeline guys are welding, whether it's in our yard or out in the doing pipeline. After they get done welding, they'll go in and they'll X-ray. They'll have X-ray guys come in and obviously sign off on it.
Right.
Then after they sign off on it, then we'll pressure test it to, I don't know, like 250% or whatever of the maximum operating pressure that's designed for that pipe for X amount of time, just to make sure that shit passes. So when you were talking to us a second ago about telling the importance to the kids on how critical your welds being good are, that's a perfect example of it does have to be critical.
Yeah, because I mean that's got to be it's unfortunate though, because it's one of those things that they're never going to think about on the job unless something bad happens. And I hate to say that, but that's why I try to drive it home while they're still in school, so that way they, it ain't no joke,
Yeah.
People's lives they're on the line, and you can't think about that, obviously. I mean, as well as I do, you can't sit there and think about that. You're never going to get shit done, but it's kind of got to be in the back of your head, or else, you might slip up, let something go that you shouldn't. And it's not just with pressure testing of things. I've built trailers or weld a hitch onto something, even just the little stuff I do on the side,
Well, if you don't weld a hitch on good and you're pulling a trailer down the road,
right. Yeah. And that thing falls off and that trailer kills a couple people. Well, whose fault is that? That's my fault.
Yeah.
And I think some of them, the ones that get it, are the ones that take things a lot more seriously. I'm sorry, I know I keep going back to the school stuff, but that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. So I think about that more than anything. I think making sure that all of the people in the trades tell the young folks these things that they may not hear much once they're actually on the job. That'll definitely make a better workforce, I think. Making sure that they understand the ins and outs, or not the ins and outs, kind of the unwritten rules kind of stuff before they even get out there. I think that's helpful.
Yeah. I think that's the hard part too about a lot of trade schools and things, or just trying to teach anybody a trade solely from just a practical perspective, you can teach somebody how to weld all day long, but it's hard to teach those unwritten rules, especially if you yourself have not had a lot of experience.
Right.
So I think that's what makes this program here so good is you have experience.
Yeah. Well,
So that's the deal. You're not just a teacher. I mean, you have your own business outside of your instructing, right?
Yeah.
So you're living and breathing. You're not just a teacher that's not doing real world applications. You're living and breathing it every day. So
Yeah. And that's actually why I started the business is after my first year of teaching, I went, I'm going to lose my touch if I don't keep doing this. So I was like, well, 2 birds, 1 stone, make some money and make sure that I don't lose what I'm doing. And it's paid off because every now and again, you got to go in there and remind the students you still know what you're doing. I laid down this real nice weld the other day. And they were like, you did that? You're damn right I did that. I'm doing this for 20 some odd years. Yeah.
I always keep a grinder handy whenever I try to weld. Clean it up and spray paint it.
Anytime I try to weld, I make sure that I've got a grinder and I've got somebody who knows how to weld, and I make sure I'm not in the room while welding's going on. So, all right, let's hear a little more about kind of you and your background then. I mean, so you went and you were going to do the DJ thing. It didn't work out, so you decided welding because your grandpa did it. So did you go work for somebody else for a while? Did you start your own company? And what'd you do between those years of the KUNT and becoming a teacher?
Well, I welded for basically, like I said, everybody around here.
Like as an employee? Or
as an employee,
okay.
yeah. As an employee. I did a little bit I was at Mertz for a few years. I've worked at MJ&H, H&T in Blackwell. I've done a little bit for... I've welded for Mitch Garrity. I don't know. I've welded for basically everybody around here, either as myself, my business, or as an employee. And a big part of the reason I did that, well, for one, was money. Everybody knows that. Welders chase money. But the other thing I was doing was I wanted to learn as much as I could, different things. Because, growing up, like I said, my grandfather, he welded fence, and he built trailers and weld beds and stuff like that, which was awesome. So whenever I worked somewhere and I got stuck doing one thing, I went, all right, well, I'm going to move on. And so now I've done process piping, I've built pressure vessels, trailers. I've done the monotonous crap. I even welded a ditch witch for a little while, and oh my God, that's what made me think, like, maybe I have ADD because I can't do this shit.
Is that just assembly line? Like you get one thing and you're doing the same weld over and over? Yeah.
If you took 100 of my parts that I welded there, you wouldn't see any difference because I did so many that all of my welds were the exact same, and I could, beat times that they needed and all that kind of stuff because it was just same crap. And they lied to me. They said, we are a high diversity, low production shop. And I had come from a place where it might take you a couple months to build one thing because we're building trailers or not trailers. We're building like towers and things. And I get there, and my first day, this fucking guy hands me an order of like 60 of the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, I don't think this is going to be for me. But anyway, yeah, that was a big part of it. It's important, just as important to know what you don't want to do as it is to know what you want to do. So.
And you only learn that from experience.
Right. And that goes back to even though that was welding, I was a welder at Ditch Witch. I was welding every day. That is not the welding I want to do. That's not the type of welding I enjoy doing. There was no thought to it, so I didn't like it. And that's why I say I kind of bounced around. I wanted to find out what I enjoyed, and it turns out I enjoy the one-off, the big stuff. Like I said, the process piping, that goes back to like you were talking about, that I would do the piping spools and things. So we're building stuff with all these different angles and rolling offsets and what have you, and all this stuff.
Flanges and all that.
And you got to take into account for how much things are going to change as you weld. And again, like you said, that only comes with experience. you know, if this guy likes his gap at an eighth of an inch, and this guy likes his gap at 5/32 of an inch, it's a 30-second. But if you've got 15 weld joints, you know, it adds up. So things can really change. And if you don't do it, it's not something you're just going to know. And that kind of goes again to that's the stuff I try to teach, so that the young folks think about it. You know, I remember it was this company that we were working for whenever I was at Mertz. This guy was from Germany, super nice guy. Can't remember his name, but super nice guy. And he was the one that was explaining that to us. I mean, I already knew that, but he kept saying it's the accumulation. And he said everything was wrong. Everything was off because you know, it was, our tolerance was not tight enough, and it was like an eighth, but over X joints, you know, everything was off, and he was so pissed off. But it was a learning experience for a lot of those guys that were doing that, because they don't think about it. Well, it's within tolerance. Yeah, but that's overall. That's overall tolerance, not every weld joint. You know, you can be an eighth inch out overall. You can't be an eighth inch out every time, because then you end up 3 inches out or whatever it is. You know.
Yeah, we'd use that same analogy or example when we were framing houses. It'd be within a 16th or an eighth. Here, that's good. Then we'd go up to the second floor, 16th and 8th, or a wall. And if you kept doing that over time, our boss would be like, dude, you might be out here, but by the time you get done, it's going to be out 3/4 of an inch. Then by the time the cabinet guys come in or whoever, they're going to be pissed off because. So go ahead and try to get it right, or as close as you can to right the first time, and do it every time, or you're going to be dealing with those issues.
Yeah. And like I say, I mean, that ended up with, we still finished the job and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes in and then you have to do a bunch of rework, then you got a pissed off customer, you got a pissed off boss, you got a pissed off everybody. And and it's all because you thought, it's an eighth of an inch, not that big a deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, our going saying is it's better to be pissed off than pissed on.
True enough, though.
But that depends on who's doing the pissing, right?
And it depends on what you're into, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, that German guy, he may have been all about it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, as somebody married to a German, I don't know. I'm going to say
German guy.
Well, that's true. German guys, that might be different. It might be different than the German girls.
See? I don't know.
Sorry, baby. I love you. So when did you decide that you were going to be a teacher?
It was actually, what was that, 2015? What is that? 8 years ago now, I guess. I took an evening class just to stay learning, I guess you could say. I took an evening class out there at Pioneer Tech and happened to run into my instructor from whenever I was a student there in high school.
What were you taking an evening class there for?
No, it was a welding class. What I was doing at the time, the work I was doing, I was at Mertz, and I wasn't getting a whole lot of interesting welds to do. So I was like, well, I'll sign up for this class, and I'll go in there, and I'll just keep in practice with the other stuff that I'm not using right now. So I did that, and I run into my old instructor from when I was in high school, and he was teaching a different welding class. I was in the advanced, he was teaching the beginning, and he goes, hey, I think they might have an opening for the evening adult course welding instructor, because I'm wanting to go back to whatever he was doing. Would you be interested in helping me? And I said, sure, I can do that. And so in 2015, I started teaching the evening classes with adults. And that was really cool, too, because unlike the high school students who don't know what the hell they want to do, these were folks that were like, I've got a job lined out. I just need to be able to do this. I'm like, hell yeah, I can teach you. Yeah, I can work with you. We can do that. So that was really a fun thing to get to do. And then I think it was 2017, the full-time position came open, and I actually did not get picked that time, but the person that was picked didn't even last a year. So, that was kind of a weird thing. But they called me and asked if I would be still interested in the full-time job. And this is in April of 2018. And if you don't know, April is only 2 months before the last 2 months of the school year, and they asked if I would fill in. I'm like, oh shit. I mean, that means these kids, I'd be their third instructor, some of them.
Yeah.
And it's right whenever, they're really in the thick of it at that point where there's like competitions and all this kind of shit. So I was a little nervous, but I said, yeah, I can help you out. I was actually working at MJ&H at the time. And I don't know if y'all know Gary Harvey, but he's the owner over there. He's the H of MJ&H. He said, I will let you go over there. You can still be employed here. So that way you can see if you actually like it or not. So
that's pretty
definitely
cool right
shout
there.
out to him.
That's
That was a
awesome.
great opportunity. Most employers would have not been okay with that by any stretch. So he was really cool about all that. And I went in and I just really enjoyed it. I don't know if you've ever heard of Skills USA. If my wife listens to this, she's going to laugh because I really want to sing the Skills USA theme song. I'm not going to though. But
Are you sure?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's not worth it. Anyway, I got to go with them to their Skills USA competitions, which was a state competition over in Tulsa. I coached them up for it. Obviously, they had some other instruction. I'm not taking 100% credit, but I helped them get ready for that competition. They won state. I had 4 of those students that were then going to go to nationals, which was in Louisville, Kentucky. And they're like, we'll fly you out and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. What do I have to do? What am I paying? What am I doing? And they're like, no, we'll put you in a hotel, fly you out there. You just got to make sure that those kids don't get stabbed or something by the homeless folks out in Louisville. And I'm all right, I can do that. And that was kind of when I was like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'll go for it. I'll just try it out and see what happens. And it's now my 6th school year. So I didn't really decide. I didn't really have to decide without getting to try it, which was awesome. So
Yeah, that's pretty neat right there. So just going back to all that's cool, man. And shout out to your employer for being like, yeah, try it out,
Yeah.
just see if you like it. And that is a hard spot to be in, going in at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
These kids are, their give a shit's already low because the school year's almost over. They might be a senior and they don't want to be there anyways. They're ready to graduate and move on and either go to college or go start whatever their career is going to be after high school. A lot of those kids probably didn't go to college, but so they're ready to just get out and go start making money. You're teaching them. They're like, golly, this program is pissing me off because we don't have no consistency.
right.
So that's already a tough spot to be in. And it's not so much just the when did you get that job kind of thing. I mean, you have to have a passion to try and teach 16, 17, 18-year-olds how to weld and how to do a skill. And it's not your kids that are the ones that are doing just real well in class, at least in a traditional sense. So, I mean, have you always had that passion or what made you even somewhat interested in deciding that was a good path for you?
I think mainly it was just wanting to share some knowledge that I remember just being so thrilled to get, whenever, like I was saying, it's my grandfather that got me into it. And I just remember just thinking like, man, this is so cool. And I want to be able to do this. I want to be good at this. I kind of have this weird chip on my shoulder from playing baseball as a kid. I always got second. My team, we always ended up in second. And it pissed me off, man. So welding is something that you have complete control over. If I want to be good at it, I'm going to work my ass off and get good at it. It's like, okay, so I've worked really hard and I'm decent at it now. And I think there's a lot of like-minded people. So I was like, I would love to be able to help these young people who might be in a similar situation as me. And it seems like a lot of them are. I feel like I'm really able to relate a lot of times with my students. And, I think so anyway. Shit, I don't know. They might listen to this or something and be like, this guy doesn't fucking know anything. But I feel like I can relate with him pretty well.
They're clipping stuff right now to be
Yeah.
like, can you believe this dumbass said this? Oh, man. I cringe or something.
But yeah, and it's really turned into a passion because I love seeing a breakthrough with one of them. You know, whenever I see a kid that's tried time and time again to get something and it doesn't quite work out, and then one day it just does, and they're like, this is awesome, and then everything starts going a little more smoothly. That's just it's hard to describe, really. It's so cool to see that and know you had at least a small part in it.
Well, the great thing about the VOTEC is, unless if parents or whoever are assholes, the people who are there, speaking like for the kids, they're not forced to be there.
Right.
Compared to having to go to high school or junior high where you're really forced. I mean, so they're going there with hopefully an intention to learn a skill to use it later in life. And you have a true testimonial to where I don't know if you mentioned it a second ago, but so you went to the welding class while you're in high school at VOTEC. Was that right?
No.
Okay, so did you go to VOTEC in high school?
I did.
Okay, so what class did you go to there?
That was the it's called mechatronics now. It was called industrial tech at the time. So it's industrial maintenance kind of stuff. That's the one that leads into the process tech degree.
Okay. Well, I almost had a perfect tie in there, but you still have a testimonial to where it was almost perfect. You should have just said you took welding class and you know in high school.
Well, but he said in the very beginning they didn't.
But I was hoping that I could grease him up a little bit. But talking with your kids still, you went to VOTEC while you're in high school. You saw the options there, and here you are at your age. I'd like to think that you think in life that you're successful, and a lot of it had to do with going to VOTEC in high school, seeing the options there, and here you are now a teacher, and you can legitimately say, dude, I was here just like you all. Mm-hmm. You know, I looked at other things. I knew this was an option, but dude, things can work out because you can do just like what I'm doing.
Yeah, and whether or not I took welding, which I did at one point, I mean, I took a class as an adult, so I still took welding at Pioneer Tech. So you're right, and a little bit wrong, but that's okay. I still firmly believe that. I mean, Pioneer Tech had played a big part in where I am today, whether I took the welding class or not, because I knew I enjoyed working with my hands. You know, yeah, I had already been in welding, you know, with family, but knowing this is what I want to do, I really like working with my hands. Yeah, I tried the other deal, and if I had truly wanted to do that, if I had truly wanted to get in radio or voice acting or whatever the case may be, that's what I'd be doing right now. Right? I mean, that's just kind of how that works. You know, if you really want it, that's what you do. But I started out welding. I went and realized that I enjoy working with my hands in all sorts of other capacities because I did that class was basic electricity, hydraulics, pneumatics, and we did do some welding in there. I don't know if you know Steve Bookout. He's Steve, he was the welding instructor, and he was my instructor for that program. So, yeah, for sure. I mean, I credit that place a lot with where I am today. Because the other big thing, I was like C's and D's in high school, right? Like at Ponca City High School.
Hey.
I had like a 2-point.
Welcome to the club,
maybe.
Bubba.
We this is not.
You and I are this guy over here.
Dude, I was not an A student. I can tell you that much.
I was a one-legged A student.
I was hardly a B student. I got many ass rippings for my lack of stellar grades.
Was it me or you that was talking about taking some AP some other class earlier? That was me.
Yeah,
oh, that was you.
Yeah, I was talking
the
about
smart guy taking the senior class as a sophomore. That's right.
You know what I was always so pissed off about? Starting about in second grade, I went to Woodlands Elementary, and a lot of the kids that I were friends with were a little smarter than me. Well, we had 2 classes in second grade, 2 classes, and there were 2 separate classes. And my friends who were smarter than me, they were always in the other class. And it took me third or fourth grade to figure it out that, oh, I was in the dumb class. They were keeping all the smart kids together and then having us just like drag along in the other classes.
Turns out it was Casey was in special ed.
Hey, whatever it was, man.
No, but dude, that's so cool. I love that you're doing that because, like I said, man, you're not getting the creme de la creme kids. You know, you're not getting the valedictorians. You're not getting those people. But what I love is that you are hopefully showing these kids an out. You're showing them an option for something that is not just drugs or something dead-end job. You're giving them a skill, and hopefully, because most blue-collar workers, and I think we've talked about this recently, are ADD, man. Like, we don't want to do the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
We want a specific set of challenges with our hands that we can look at and we can build and say, look what I did.
Right.
And you're taking those kids that are in class that humans are not made to sit in a classroom for 8 freaking hours at a time.
Nope.
And look at a whiteboard and listen to somebody talk and lecture. Dude, I can't even hardly do that at church for, an hour. Like, it's hard. It is really hard to focus up for 1 hour listening to somebody talk. And you're not having a conversation. It's not interactive. You're just listening to them talk. And then they want to take these kids and they want to put them on prescription medication and say, man, you have ADHD, you have ADD. No, they're just fucking bored, man. Mm-hmm. And you're taking these kids that some of them might be troublemakers. Granted, some of them are great kids. And some of them just need some direction and influence in their life. And you are taking them and you're showing them a skill, and hopefully you are putting them on a path for some sort of success. And you're talking about a breakthrough. Man, what's more rewarding than seeing a kid that's gotten in trouble in school a lot and doesn't fit in and is just an outcast to the teachers and maybe some of the other students, and you see them start getting this down and start believing in themselves and having confidence that they're good at something.
Yeah. I mean, I think something I've said for a lot of years is I'm tired of making a rich person richer. I want to do something that feels like I'm making a difference somehow. And teaching inherently makes a difference. I mean, whether it's helping them figure out what they want to do with their lives or just trying to be, I try to be that instructor, that teacher that, I know it's a little touchy-feely, but I if they don't mind talking to me, then I've done something good, because like you just said, there's a lot of those students that they have a hard time at their sending school or whatever the case may be. So if they can come in and say, Freeman, it's been a shit day. Let's get out in that shop and try to burn some rod or whatever. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, let's go. I'll help you, whatever you need. And I always tell them, without you guys getting into the workforce, there's so many things that would not get done, things that you don't even realize that would not get done. And I think we talked about this when we was at lunch the other day is I really hoped that COVID was going to teach people, 2020, the thick of it, whenever shit was shut down and all that. I was really thinking, man, people are finally going to get it. They're going to see that trash man and all these other positions that did not get to just sit on their asses at home, which I did, thankfully. I got to sit on my ass. Those guys are important, all of them, like far more important than they get the credit for. And I really was hoping that would be the case. There'd be this blue-collar resurgence, and people would go, man, I want to do the stuff where I was still working during that time. I wasn't having to sit and hope for a check from the government or whatever. And it felt like that was going to be the case there for a little while, and I don't know about so much anymore, but that's why this stuff is important, making sure we still spread the word and make sure that folks understand it's still important. The media may have kind of decided that that's not the flavor of the month anymore, and they can, whatever, blue collar, doesn't matter, but it's still important.
Well, and I mean, so many of these kids need to know that, like, all right, as a welder, like I said before, it's scalable, right? I mean, you have weld jobs that you're making $10 an hour, and you have weld jobs where you're making. I mean, what are you making on the high end?
About 175 an hour.
Yeah. So that's a broad range, right?
Yeah, huge.
And you need all those aspects. But I mean, the sky's your limit. I mean, there's not a lot of people coming into it. In fact, there was a guy my age I was talking to the other day. He's from Pennsylvania, and he just moved down here, welder. And he was like, yeah, dude, he said, I started there whenever I was 23. He did the same thing. He went to a Votech up there, and he had good work ethic. He had kind of a plan. He showed up to work. He was on time. He listened. He learned. And I mean, he went from making like $15 an hour to almost $30 an hour within maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And he was leading crews. And it's just, these kids don't realize how hungry we are for blue collar workers, but it's not just that we're hungry for hands. Oh, I think my camera just died. But it's not just that we're hungry for hands. We're hungry for people who can step up too.
For sure.
And you got to be that person.
Yeah. I have a former student. I think he graduated in May. So he's not even a full year out of high school. I think he's been with the same company a couple months now, making $30 an hour. No, I know $30 an hour is not what it used to be, but that's still damn good money for an 18-year-old.
That's a chunk.
Like, you can't tell me that you were making anywhere near $30 an hour at 18. I was making like,
damn, that's awesome.
I was making 9, and I thought I was a high roller.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's building tanks and stuff, and it's great to hear. I had a former student at one point that was building tanks and was making like $45 an hour, or not tanks, bridges, making like $45 an hour, and that's cool, man. You know, that's great.
Is that the type of stuff that you let the kids know whenever
Oh,
they're
yeah,
in there,
for sure.
or even the adults that, guys, here's true testimony. Here's my testimonial deal again about someone that just left here, did exactly what you're doing, and now they're making X in X amount of time.
Yeah. I actually had a student that also graduated. No, that wasn't in May. It was May of 22. But she went to work for a local shop, works her ass off always. Like, you cannot outwork this young lady. And I don't know monetary, I don't know the hourly wage or nothing, but so she's 19 or so, like probably going to turn 20 this year or something like that. She bought a house. She drives a big ass lifted F-250 that all the boys are like, man, I want that truck. They're driving these old beaters, and I'm like, she's not even 2 years out of high school and is doing that well. It's pretty impressive to know. Yeah. It's pretty impressive to know that these young people are also putting their, I don't know how to phrase this. They're not just blowing their money,
Right.
That is one of those ones that really, really, I love having her come in and talk to the students, or at least I can talk about it while she just goes to work or whatever, because she'll come in and practice still. It's like, it's unreal, the work ethic that some of these young people have, that I think they just get shit on in the media so much about, like, they don't want to work, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. And like, some of them do.
Yeah.
Like, I see it every day. Some of them, I got a kid right now that beats me to the shop every day, and doesn't want to do anything other than weld. And I guarantee you that kid will be in the industry killing it. It's going to make ridiculous money one day just because they want to know everything. He wants to know how to mirror weld. He wants to know how to do just everything. He's like, I want to know it all. He said, I feel like you're not a good welder unless you can do this, this, and this. And some of it was shit I can't even do. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I suck, but that's cool. Like,
Better YouTube that shit.
But
man, there's nothing better than teaching somebody that wants to learn. Mm-hmm. That it makes me feel, I've always, I think it'd be great to be a teacher, but a lot of times teachers don't make the type of money to afford the lifestyle that I live. So I didn't go the teaching route. But I love when I'm able to help somebody or teach somebody that's willing to learn, whether it's a youngin' or an old person, when they're asking questions and the wheels are turning, man, there's nothing more rewarding than sitting there talking to somebody that wants to learn.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I mean, I'll freely admit there's a fair amount of time that I come home bitching, but at the end of the day, I'm still there. This is the longest I've ever worked anywhere, and I started 2018, you know.
Right.
So, it's kind of hard to focus. It's what it's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to focus with all these damn cameras beeping at us.
Yeah, these cameras. So we're having all these technical difficulties in the studio right now. You might see me black. Right now, Casey's the only camera that's working right. They've been doing great, man, and all of a sudden it just, I don't know.
James forgot to charge stuff again.
Well, they were plugged in all fucking weekend, and they're still plugged in while we're running, but evidently it's not good enough. Here, I'm back for a brief second till it turns off, but
you ought to take the only working camera right there and just spin it to each person that's talking. Just do that.
Yeah.
Dude, it's on a pedestal or whatever.
yeah,
Mic
high
stand.
dollar production right there.
Yeah.
Well, they'll click on for a sec, but shit, man. Now it's got us all over the place. I'm sure our listeners probably listen to us and they're just like, man, these guys ain't got a fucking clue what's going on in this room. Like, we're always talking, but unlike other podcasts, we gladly admit our mistakes and we gladly admit that we don't always know what we're doing. We're a couple dudes talking into some microphones and we bought cameras for whatever unknown reason.
YouTube.
Yeah.
It's all about the YouTube.
It's all about the YouTube. It's, so. But yeah,
So
man.
What does the Votech do to? I guess they go to the high school. They go obviously to the high school and let them know that this is an option.
It's funny that you ask, actually, because we have had a lot of conversation recently about how to better recruit. So it's interesting. I think personally, the best recruitment tool would be students, right? You bring out a kid who can say, I hated school, I came here, I'm on the honor roll or whatever, you know what I mean? And I think that would be the way to do it. I'm not 100% certain on how it's done right now. I think it is some of the counselors or something go to the schools and say, here's an option. If you want to come out here, this is how you can do it, how you enroll, all that kind of stuff. And I'm hoping that soon we will be able to do it a little bit differently. Like I'm saying, I think there's more effective ways of getting it done. And thankfully, the school is very open to listening to all of our ideas. So right now, it's kind of like you said. Yeah, somebody just comes out and says, sure, this is an option. Try it out. But like I said, I think it should be students, and that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I think so. Back in the early '90s, whenever I was in high school, I barely even knew if that was an option back then.
Right.
And the whole thing, you know how it was. You're supposed to go to college. Where you're going to college after high school. I mean, you're going to college, and so I didn't know that option. And James and I talk about it a lot, to where you've got some of these kids that you're talking about that went through the school and they're pretty much zero debt, whatever the school costs, which I'm sure it's super duper minimal, but they're pretty much zero debt at 18, 19, 20 years old with zero debt instead of, a six-figure college debt. And they're already in the workforce making some jack, living the good life, compared to being 23 or 24 years old with a six-figure debt and not even a guaranteed job. And I don't even know if the degree that I got in college is even the degree that I wanted. I mean, y'all are putting people to work, because I assume y'all help do job placement too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was talking about my former employer, Mr. Harvey, there at MJ&H. We have a contest at the end of every school year. You might hear it on the radio. It's called the Weld for Work. And what we do is these students come in, they get prints they've never seen before, and they've got to build the project, right? And the top four, it's generally the top four spots, I think, guaranteed a job. They can go, and if they can pass the weld test for them, then they go straight to work welding right out of high school, And that kind of promotion is huge. You know, saying I could get you to work day one, $20 an hour or whatever the case may be. Where else are you going to do that, really? You know, and your wage can go up pretty rapidly from there if you do a good job. And I try to tell, I don't remember who I was talking to, somebody today about it. I try to tell these students, I get calls and texts every single day about, I need this many welders. Can you send me somebody that can do this or whatever it is? And I got a really fun opportunity to put that to use the other day. I had a young man that got laid off because he was working an overnight shift, and they got rid of the overnight shift, and he's just still in school. So he was like, I can't work days. I go to school. I said, hold on. He's telling me about it. I call this one guy. I said, could you use somebody part-time, 6 to 12 or whatever? He said, yeah, send him in the morning. I said, see, I'm not bullshitting you guys. Like I can get you a job today if you want to go to work. And that's how all of the instructors out there are. Like that's the beauty of it. If you go out there and you apply and you show the instructor of whatever the course is, whatever program you want to do that, dude, they'll put you to work as soon as you want to. And I think that was kind of an eye opener for some of the students because they're thinking, you know, oh, I got to know a guy and get into work. I'm like, I'm that guy. Like I'm the one that's supposed to be teaching you and helping you get to work right after this. It's my job. You know, they're not paying me for nothing. You know what I mean? And that competition we've got, and then the Skills USA competitions. There's just so many different things that we can help people get employed using. And I think welding in general is lacking so many. You know, I don't remember how many job openings or what the shortage was going to be in welding, but it was just some ridiculously high number. And what I'm seeing is I've got 35 students right now and had like 15 on a wait list. So it's not that the students it's not that the people don't want to do it. They're wanting to. I think they're once they get through with the program, it's almost like sometimes they fall back into that school mindset and they don't want to show up and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like they go through all this training and then they have these problems where it's like, I don't know how to help with that one.
Yeah, and you and I actually talked about that whenever we went to lunch that one day about, you know, how I don't know what it is about a lot of kids. I hate to be the kids these days, but there are a lot of new hires that just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like that part doesn't click with them of you need to be here at this time. And if you're going to be gone, you need to tell us, you know, schedule your doctor's appointments around this stuff, or at least give us fair notice. Don't tell us at 7 a.m. that you have a doctor's appointment at 10 a.m. If you have issues here, you know you're going to be late, tell us. Don't just not show up. Like, and it's not all kids doing that. And it's people of all ages, but especially the younger generation, it's like they just don't get it. They don't get that, hey, I need to call into work. Right. And I've even heard the other day, I had a friend of mine tell me about his son who has been going through a rough patch, and his son was complaining about, I can't believe they fired me. And he's like, you know, because I can't believe they fired me. I was sick, and they fired me for being sick. And it was, well, did you tell him you were sick? And, you know, he kind of kept prying and prying. The kid was like, no, I was sick. And it was like, you know, he kept saying, well, it turns out he like 2 or 3 days, no call, no showed. He was sick, but he never told anybody.
Right.
And he got fired, and all of a sudden it's the employer's fault. It's just that weird mentality. And I think it's just because a lot of these kids have never been taught accountability. Yeah. And I don't think that they realize what it means when they don't show up, how big of a burden that puts everybody in.
Right.
And I don't know if they just figure, man, I'll get another job next week. I mean, everybody's hiring right now. I'm not sure where that mentality comes from.
I really don't know either, but it's a tough one. I mean, I I know somebody that just had 3 or 4 employees just walk out like this week. And what do you do, right? I mean, that's 3 or 4. One's bad enough, but when you got 3 or 4, and it was just come in for their shift, not quit on a day off, come in for their shift and just, I quit. Like, I don't know what they think that's going to do for their future, but that's the one thing that we all struggle with is where do you go from there? How do you teach that part of it? I don't know that you can. I mean, all I can do is hold their grades hostage, and when they don't give a shit about their grades anymore, which I'm not saying that's the case, but if it gets to that, then I got nothing, right? There's nowhere to go from there. But
Well, that accountability is super important. James and I talk a lot about this too, about the blame game, pointing at other people. You're in the situation that you're in because of however you put it in. There might be some outside forces that sometimes push you a certain way, but you've dealt this situation to yourself. You should be accountable. You should show up and work on time. You shouldn't blame sickness or the boss is an asshole. That's why I didn't do this or that. You're the one that put yourself in that position. You should be accountable. You should be a big boy.
oh yeah,
If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. And if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, I mean, it's just so important that. Sorry, I'm screwing with stuff. Keep talking.
If you have a podcast that's getting ready to be recorded, you need to make sure that all the cameras are plenty charged up.
Dude, I don't know what's up with this. All right.
Hey, dude.
I'm trying.
This is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
Dude, I talked to you off air the other day about how important this podcast tonight was going to be with him in here, and you're fucking it up. You see what I'm saying?
yeah. I'm never coming
he's
back
giving
here.
me-
See, I'm giving him the shit now. You know, I'm not being accountable.
He's laying it on me thick,
Come on, James.
man.
Be accountable.
He's laying it on me
Say it.
thick over here.
Say it.
Look, man, I don't know what I'm doing all the time. That's why I was telling Ian before the show starts, man, I need a tech guy. You know, it's if we had a tech guy, we'd be pretty good.
Well, Ian and I aren't techie.
That's very true.
We're D-average
Yeah.
human beings.
Well, Ian said he might be able to get us hooked up with some tech guys.
Oh, yeah?
So, I mean, I like to talk. I can put this stuff on all these things, but, you know, we were also talking about delegating work the other day, and it's hard to be a good host and also worry about all this other shit that's around us. But, I mean, we're getting there. It's a learning curve. This is our first time with 3 people, so, you know, we're working on it, right? But we're making do with what we have. Oh, man. But no, dude, you've been saying some cool stuff that I really love, and you know what? I don't know how to instill that in those kids either, just going back to what we were talking about. I mean, I think part of that is a lot of these kids don't have good adult role models in their lives. And I've learned that from working with youth and in our youth group and stuff like that. These kids truly don't have anybody at home who actually gives a shit about them.
Yeah.
And they go home to bad situations where they're either neglected or abused or some of the... I've been talking a lot to officials in the school system, and just because somehow my path is crossed with a lot of them, and to hear these stories of some of these kids that are as young as 6 years old that just have some of the worst issues. They've gone through more stuff in their life than I could ever imagine going through. A friend of mine told me he has a girl he teaches who is 6 years old and has legitimate PTSD.
Yeah.
From things that they've seen. And you're getting these kids in your class, and then we're getting them in the workforce, right? And we don't think about all that stuff. We just think about the fact that, dude, they're not cutting it. But what these kids want is they want somebody to invest in them. And that's why your program probably has a high success rate, is because these kids are being invested into, they're being taught something. And even if you're not intentionally doing it, you're mentoring them in a way that they've never had. Some of these kids probably don't have a dad. A lot of these kids probably don't have a dad, or it's not a good scene, right? So they're getting that at school, which is awesome, which you don't get in a classroom setting most of the time. But you can get that in a shop setting.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful thing being able to do that and to teach these kids. And I think that as employers, we almost are going to have to start doing that in a sense. Just care more about them as a person, invest in them more as a person. We talk about investing in your employees all the time on this show. And it's the same kind of deal. There's a lot of people and a lot of kids that are coming into the workforce that have just never had anybody care about them. So they don't understand accountability because nobody's ever said, hey, you let me down. Or that's all they've ever heard in their life. And it's because they have some drunk, abusive parents or something like that. I don't know.
Or it's
a crazy deal.
Or it's even just like they don't go to school and they're not in trouble for it. Like I can't even imagine that. I was skipping school once in high school, and I drove right past my mom. And oh my God, I thought she was going to kill me, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
You know, my dumbass is just cruising down the road, drive right past her, and the truck that she bought me, and yeah, that didn't go over well. You know, but there's other times where these young folks, they could be in a similar situation, and their parents are just like, okay, I don't care if you go to school or not. Mm-hmm. Well, why the hell would they care if they show up to a job on time or anything like that if their parents have always just said, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like, it's no big deal. Nothing's going to happen. Like, I guess. You know, my wife taught kindergarten at Lincoln, and she hasn't taught there for years, but man, some of the stories, because she got the kids from White Eagle and stuff, and, you know, it was just heartbreaking, some of that stuff you'd hear. And I've had a few of her students, and it's like a world of difference now. I got one. Now, don't get me wrong. This kid was not in the same scenario as some of the others. It wasn't as bad, but like he's down at O State now going for engineering, which I don't know why he came through my class. I told him he should have gone to the pre-engineering class, but.
Well, but I mean, some kids just want to learn a tangible skill. They just want to learn something, whatever that is. I mean, like, I wish I would have gone through before I went to OSU. I wish I would have gone through like welding or automotive or something that even if you go to college, you at least know how to do this shit.
Yeah.
At least to an extent.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, you're welcome to come out to my shop anytime. I'll teach you something.
Add it to the list of things.
Well, school is just like the workforce in general, man. All of us, either at work or the kids in your class, we spend more time at work with people, or the kids spend more time in your class than they probably do around their families at home.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what's even crazier about our programs is I've got 3 hours with them. You know, any other teacher, it's been a while. I don't remember how long high school classes are, hour or whatever.
Ish, yeah.
Well, we got 3 hours with them every day, and you know, so I know which ones probably stayed up late playing Fortnite or whatever. You know, I get to know them pretty well. So that's like James said, it's kind of a powerful deal. I wish you hadn't said that. Now it's going to be in my head. Like I have more to do with their future than I thought.
You do? Do you have people that have went through your class that have come back and thanked you?
I have. And I actually had one just the other day who started his own little welding business that he told me he just thanks for everything, all that kind of stuff. And then those, you know, that means so much.
Yes.
And then the other ones that have meant a lot because it takes some of the weight off of me was I've had some former students come back and say, man, I really wish I had listened to you. I'm sorry about that. And then I just go, okay, so I was right. Like it takes that whole shit. Maybe I'm not doing something right. It takes that out of the equation when they come back and say, you know, I'm really sorry. I should have paid more attention. I should have done this or that. And I'm like, okay, it wasn't me not reaching out enough. It was them not wanting to. Well, you know, they're kids.
It was leading the horse to water, but not me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes somebody tells you something, and I was always the kid that I would store those tidbits. I would always say, this is not going to be relevant to me again in my life ever. But then whenever it becomes relevant, you go, okay, I remember that. I wish I would have maybe paid a little more attention that day or something like that.
Yeah.
And but it sticks with you.
Yeah, yeah. And like I was saying, the one that started his own business and stuff, he's been graduated, I don't know, 3-4 years, whatever. And the ones that still reach out, like want to stay in contact, or they'll get a hold of me after a year or two or whatever. Hey, I'm kind of needing a job, and still coming to me for help. Like, sweet. So they know that I will still help them. And that's true. Any of them, that one kid. Yeah. Well, I can't remember the name of his business now. I was going to try to give a little plug there. I don't remember what it's called.
Just be like, I don't want to drop names on the show.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Even though we dropped like every name in town.
But there's just so much good that comes out of my job that I usually have to kind of take a weekend to reflect sometimes, because like I said, I do come home and bitch on occasion. But I will freely admit this year has been I've got a really good crop of students that I think the vast majority will get into the industry at some point.
Well, you wouldn't be a welder if you didn't bitch.
That's true.
Everybody says that there's 2 things welders like to do, and it's buy overpriced trucks and bitch or something like that, or talk shit on other welders or something like that.
It's all true. I mean, that those things don't come from nowhere.
Another deal too is if you ain't cussing, you ain't working.
Well, and that's true. You got to get a little blood on it in order for it to be a good job, right?
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
So what do you do on your side business?
A little bit of everything. I've got a shop out at the house that I can do aluminum and stainless and all the TIG fun things that people think about that are a little more niche, I guess, because this is small town Oklahoma. Everybody can weld. That's what it feels like. It feels like everybody can weld. Or their farmer grandpa has been welding forever, or whatever the case may be. So a lot of times the farm repair stuff, which is what I was thinking I would do, it's not really there because those guys already know somebody. So a lot of my work that I do is I've repaired I don't know how many pontoon boats. I said, man, Ponca Lake must be a lot more rough than I thought, because I get some of these boats come in, they're just all fucked up. But yeah, so I've done aluminum. That. Yeah. The aluminum tunes, and then I did a little bit of work for Vortex. I've done some stainless welding for them, tiny bit. I just do whatever I'm asked to do. I did some work for Bliss, and that that camera, man.
Yeah, dude, this guy's a joke.
I'm just turning the one. I'm going through all this effort for like our 25 YouTube viewers we get versus the potential thousands that listen. We're still new to the YouTube game.
That's all right. So I just wish I had known before.
But there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity with even your not side gig, but your business separate from being an instructor, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you could probably get as much work as you wanted.
For the most part,
probably already have as much work as you want right now.
Yeah, for the most part. I actually at one point earlier this year, I had I had one guy working for me, sending him to different jobs because I didn't have the time for it. Because like I was saying earlier, I got a 3-month-old daughter, so I was not dealing with. Ooh, that's a poor choice of word.
You were fortunate. You had the opportunity.
I was so thankful to be able to help my wife out and stuff over the summer and whatnot. So I didn't always have the time to be able to go do these jobs. And I mean, I've got a job board at the house that's basically always full. And a lot of times it's little odd jobs, but I like that stuff. I had a guy get a hold of me the other day. He said he used the fancy term. I don't remember what the fancy term was, but his wife's walker had a weld broke. I said, bring it on out. I welded up. I said, there you go. Thanks. And he said, what do I owe you? I'm like, dude, I'm not, it took me 5 minutes. Like, I'm not going to charge you for that. And that's also nice. I've got a full-time job. So there's some stuff that I can just do because I want to do it. It's the right thing to do. And shit's just rewarding all over the place, apparently. But yeah, so I do tiny little stuff like that takes me 5 minutes. And then, I don't know, either you do anything with motocross?
Yeah. I'm part of the Inbox.
Okay.
And they put on.
The new stage?
Yeah. You
That was
did that,
me.
huh?
That was me.
Hell yeah.
So, well, the alterations to the new stage anyway.
Is that why it wobbles and shit when you walk on it?
Yeah. It's because it probably is.
Yeah, that's funny.
It might be. I wonder. I honestly wondered about that.
Now he's now second guessing. It's like
guessing.
Casey doesn't even know what stage you're talking about. And you're,
It really might be though.
no, I don't.
Did you do the stage out at Sadie's also?
No.
Sadie's the local strip joint.
Thankfully, I've never been.
I heard that they got raided the other day.
I heard about that too.
Yeah, I had a new hire. Dude, all right, don't do this on your first day.
Is
of
it
work.
open?
I think that's what I was told. Was they tried to open and then got raided.
Yeah, so I had a new hire at work the other day, and just word of the wise. If you start a new job and you're talking to anybody in the management role on your very first day or in the interview, maybe don't tell your strip club stories right away. I mean, this is within the first hour, man. He's just talking about, yeah, man, I was just in there the other day, blah, blah, blah. Just too damn expensive and talking about, and I was just like, dude, I'm not the guy. I am not the guy to be telling this story to.
How soon can you talk to your boss about strip club stories?
I think that
Second week?
I think it's play by play.
Okay.
Case
by case?
Yeah. It's not like it was a day where I was like on the asphalt crew screwing around and like it was like literally during our orientation at like 7 a.m. It was just him telling me about the other night, and then he was telling me about how it got raided. So
I would also imagine that's what I was going to say. I would also imagine the conversation leading up to it would have something to do with that. If you're not like, so I was at church yesterday, and he's like, "So Sadie's, right?"
Yeah.
Well, so this is so he knows the singer of my band is the dealer at the casino, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Grayson told me to give you shit," and I was like, "Oh, you know Grayson?" Yeah. I was like, "How do you know him?" Oh, he's at the casino. He works at the casino. I was like, oh, do you used to work at the casino, or do you just go there a lot? No, I got a gambling addiction, but hell, I guess it's cheaper than going to the strip club. And then he told me his strip club story, and then he told me about it getting raided.
Nice segue.
So
yeah.
it's he segued that one totally himself.
That's pretty smooth segue though. That's nice.
Within 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I always wonder whenever people do that, like what reaction are they thinking they're going to get? Are you going to be like, hell yeah, dude, I was there too.
You got to dip your toe in the water. You got to throw it out there, and then you got to say, dude, I was just kidding. Fuck.
No, dude, just kidding. No, this kid, he doesn't give a shit. I don't know if he's a good or bad hand yet. I guess he hadn't been there long enough, but
dude,
he's a character. He's a trip, that's for sure.
I've got a picture of me in the entryway there back when it first opened. That was in 1993. I had a fake ID, and I wasn't even, it was 18 to enter back then, and I think I was 17, but I had a fake ID and was at the front. Got a picture. So got that Polaroid.
I had a fake ID and $21 bills.
So that means you probably remember, was it Baby Doe's?
Yeah, that was out there.
I guess my uncle, who you know, got booted from there. Did he? That big old dude got booted from there because the owner was a massive fella.
Even more massive than your uncle?
Your uncle ain't small.
Your uncle held a national record for bench press at one point in time.
I did too, back in high school. I used to lift with him. No, the owner's like 6'5", 6'6", something like that. He probably weighed 400 and something pounds. Massive guy. And I was telling a story about my uncle, who, like, all my friends in high school, they knew my uncle, and I'm telling the story about this big old giant guy getting bounced from the Baby Doe's, and they're like, man, who possibly could have done that? And one of them just goes, yeah, that was my dad. And I was like, there's bullshit. There's no way. And dude's got old baby doe shirts. Like he would wear them every now and again. I was like, hell yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he did that to Ponca, rub it in your face.
Yeah.
You start having flashbacks of your uncle being thrown on his head when you saw that baby doe shirt.
That's funny. So, what's the? We always ask every guest this. What's the dirtiest job you've ever had to do?
The dirtiest job I've ever had to do was a repair for a truck out at Dorada. And
for the locals, the non-locals, Oklahoma's actually not even top 5 states that listens to the show. Believe it
Really?
or not. Yeah. I was looking today. I couldn't believe it. By the way, Casey, we finally got one listen from Mississippi. So
Really?
at least one person in Mississippi has access to the internet. So
Gang,
shout
gang.
out to that one person. That was the only state we were waiting on to get all 50. Every other state has great numbers. Mississippi though, not big in Mississippi evidently.
interesting.
Yeah. So I don't even remember where I was going with that.
Oh, so Dorada is a
Dorada's a chicken plant.
processing. Yeah.
They make chicken McDonald's McNuggets and whatnot.
Yeah, and if you're out on the West Coast, you might be eating the ones from here. They're not actually. They don't go anywhere locally. I found that out recently.
Interesting.
So they processed chicken, meaning all the. Can you even imagine what they don't use? All that stuff is in the bed of this truck, rotting away.
Lips and assholes.
That's right. Rotting away. And I get a call. We've got a couple of broken welds. Do you think you could help us out? And I said, sure. What's it on? And they tell me what it's on. So I'm like, all right, that sounds like no big deal. And I get there and they say, oh yeah, the trailer's full. It's not like it's just a trailer that needs fixed. They went ahead and filled the bastard up, and it's just sitting there leaking all this nasty dead chicken nonsense out. And
Was it like refrigerated or was
no.
it
That's what I'm saying. This stuff's just rotting away. And so I threw away every article of clothing I wore to that gig because this stuff's just like pouring all over me. And while I'm welding it, and then since I'm welding it and making it hot, then it's hot rotten shit. Nice. And it was just that was pretty gross. I mean that that's one that I think about every now and again. And if I ever get a phone call from that guy, I'm just no thanks. Doesn't matter what it is, I'm not doing it.
Dude, you're the second person that's told me a chicken plant story. The first one on the show, and I've been inside a chicken plant before, and it's pretty disgusting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just while they're making the chicken, you go, "That's chicken."
Yeah.
And it's weird because like I worked outside of one time, and if you're on this side of the plant, it smells just absolutely god awful. Just like what you're talking about, rotten, decaying. Ugh. And then you go like maybe 100 feet this way, and then it's like it just smells like raw meat. You're like, okay, that's a little better. And then you go like over here, and it's just like nice cooked smell, and you're like, oh my god,
yeah,
dude, I just smelled all those in like a 30-second span.
Yeah, it's not good. At least you went the right direction though.
Yeah, well, I had to go both directions. No,
Yeah.
I had another guy tell me that he had a similar deal where his was in like the middle of the night, and he had to go he was a plumber, and he had to go clean out their blood trap.
Oh.
Where this one killed the chicken. I don't know if the one here does or not, but
No.
This one actually killed the chickens, and it would basically they'd put their heads on this thing in a conveyor belt, and it just slit their throats. So like it slit a bunch of them at a time, and it would fall, and there was this big massive pit that they used for blood. Well, they'd put that blood into a tanker truck, and then they'd take it wherever, and it would coagulate, and they'd dry it out, and they'd put it in feed or
Right.
dog food or something of the sort. I don't 100% know, but they would use it for feed of some sort. And that blood trap clogged up one time, and they call him in the middle of the night, and he's, yeah, sure, I'll come do that. And he was just telling me the story the other day, and he had to snake out that line, and then he had to do it. And as soon as it came undone, there was a lot of just something in there. It came out, just shot all over him. He's in waders covered in blood, and it just, every story I hear about people working inside those plants for maintenance reasons is just disgusting.
Yeah, that one sounds a lot worse though. He wins.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You're in a truck full of rotten, decaying.
Well, thankfully I didn't have to get in it. That's the good part. I just had to stand behind it with all this shit dripping all over me, which.
But it's still dripping.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
And then you're heating it up, and it smells like burnt hair, and
it smelled like burnt everything. It was just, that was awful. I guess that's dirty, right? I mean,
that's
I've nasty.
dirty, disgusting. That's a lot of things.
Yeah.
See, I see a lot of stuff like that as opportunity to make more money.
I
Instead of
mean,
a base wage, no, fuck it, dude. No, go in there. It's going to be 3 or 4 times. Do you want it done or not? Yeah, we got to have it done. Okay, bam.
Yeah, that should have been my thought process, but mine was I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's the hard part about whenever you're in those situations. You go, I guess.
Yeah,
And then you do it, and it's always after the fact you go, either I'm never coming back or I should have charged way more.
yeah.
It's rarely your first thought. Your first thought's usually just, what did I get myself into?
I'll keep that in mind, though. That's good. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. There's opportunity there with shit jobs.
Yeah. So, as some closing thoughts, since you're teaching these kids that are coming out of high school mainly and stuff like that, what's your key words of wisdom that you wanna end on and just say, hey man, listen up. Whenever you enter the real world, here's my piece of advice to you.
I think my biggest piece of advice that I like to say a lot, and I say it so often that I think my students probably don't even it doesn't register with them anymore. Time is the only thing you can't get back, can't make more of. Don't waste your own time. That's my biggest thing. I've told a lot of students, I'm here either way. They're paying me either way. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. Don't waste your time. Find something you enjoy and make it work for you. I don't mean that in a shitty way at all. Ever. I want the best for everybody. But if that's not what you're doing currently, find out what you actually enjoy. You know what I mean? That's my biggest thing. Don't waste your time. Mm-hmm. You're not going to waste mine. So
yeah, no, dude, that's great words of wisdom, and I just want to say too, I know you and I talked about it the other day. Just a lot of kids not understanding finances and stuff like that. You get a lot of kids that are welders, especially, and they go to the oil fields. And they start making hand over fist kind of money, just unreal money. Mm-hmm. Just know that money runs out. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to go and you're going to take that kind of job, welding in Texas oil fields and stuff like that, don't buy a fucking $90,000 truck. You don't have to have the best of the best, nicest of the nice. You'll see a lot of kids out there doing that. And you'll see a bunch of 19, 20, 21-year-olds out there driving these unreal trucks. And you know what? Even if that is what you want to do, whatever. But just learn how to manage your money and budget it, especially making that kind of money, because I have seen far too many kids that go and all the way up to adults. I still see adults do this, especially the oil field guys. Whenever it's great, it's great. And whenever it's not, it sucks. And they go and they make all this money and they use it to get all this debt, and they buy all these toys and all these nice vehicles and maybe a house or a jet ski, a motorcycle, all this cool shit, and then the oil field runs dry and they can't make these payments anymore, and they've ruined themselves financially.
Yeah. It's not about can you make the payments while you're working. It's what happens when you're not working.
Yes. So stockpile, learn how to budget, learn how to save, learn how to stockpile it. And I know that you're not learning this stuff in school. You're probably not learning this stuff from your parents, because most Americans are up to their eyes in debt, but seek it out. That you have unlimited information at your fingertips at all times. So seek it out and learn how to do that, especially if you have a job and you're a hardworking kid and you can get to that point where by the time you're 21, you're making 6 figures a year, which really is not that hard anymore.
No.
If you apply yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, man, we've been rolling almost 2 hours here. So I'm sure that all of us probably have wives at home that are like, hey, quit fucking off and get home, please.
Yeah.
So, Casey, you got any final words?
Nope. Enjoyed the time.
Yeah, man, it was fun.
Great guest. Glad you could sit in, being our first timer.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we were able to work the bugs out right.
Yeah.
I don't know what was up with these cameras, but to all the listeners, I appreciate y'all. To all the YouTubers, I appreciate you guys bearing with us on this stuff. I've made a few tech notes, and we're gonna move on going forward. I already know a couple people are gonna hit me up and be like, "Hey, man, blah 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 blah," and they're gonna give me some advice, and I'm appreciative of those people. Thank you.
Blah 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 blah. Be sure to charge the cameras. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, well, dude, I don't know why they didn't charge. They've been plugged in for a fucking week. But anyways,
This guy.
appreciate y'all. Ian, where can everybody follow you at and support you or anything like that?
Instagram is if_welding, and then Facebook's the same.
Cool, man. We'll give him a follow. We got some dope hats here that he gave us before the show started, so excited about that. Follow us at Dirty and Driven. Be sure to leave us a review, 5-star if you liked it. Share it with a friend if you think it was valuable. Share it with a kid who's maybe looking for something to do and needs a career in his life. I promise you that our language will not scare them off, as we've been told recently. I think that these kids have probably heard this stuff before, and it's realistic of what they're going to hear in the real world. So,
And what is just the tip?
oh, and I haven't talked about that. Thank you, Casey. In the tip jar, in the show notes below, you can leave a tip. Maybe it be $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever you want to put in there. We appreciate all of it. If you are getting value out of the show, just know we're not making money on it. We don't have anything too fancy out here other than these microphones. But it just helps us put out a better production, so we're not doing stupid bullshit like I was today, juggling all this crap around. So put some money in the tip jar if you're about it. Other than that, man, Ian, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you.
Casey, you already know what I'm going to say. I just want to encourage all of you to take some of these lessons, apply them, do something hard today.
By God.
And scene.